You know, it's interesting to think about that sunniness and that insistence that we do. There's something of value in that reminder. My brother and sister and I, we used to fight all the time when we were younger. I mean, really fight. We were latchkey teenagers, which meant that every afternoon we had time to ourselves unsupervised in the house. And we would have outrageous, knock-down, drag-out, dramatic battles, resulting in broken windows and even a hole in the bathroom door where my sister had once flung a skillet at my younger brother's head. Jamie has heard this story many times.
Just stop right there.
We were told that one day we would get along. But there's no way you would have convinced me of it. I could never imagine back then making peace with them one day. And I want you to remember that for later. But for now, bluegrass music is one of only two musical traditions that are uniquely American, the other being jazz. The roots of bluegrass are European and African. The banjo is of African origin, descending from a stringed instrument called a banjar. With banjo providing the scaffolding, African traditional music combined with Scottish, English, and Celtic traditional music formed the basis of bluegrass. Appalachians and formerly enslaved black Americans ended up living together in close proximity and suffered similar hardships as a result of politics and unethical business practices that allowed poverty to become the status quo of the region. Whether you were white or black, poverty was the norm. Of course, this did not eradicate racism or even blur the racial lines, but there was nonetheless a cross-cultural reality that found its way into the music. Because when things are at their worst, a light invariably shines. This light, in this instance, and for this time, was the birth of bluegrass music. Bluegrass at its heart has an egalitarian approach. There are no real leads. Different instruments take the lead all the time. Harmony is a mainstay. The songs are real stories about real people, real feelings, real hopes, wishes, and prayers. An art form entirely about and founded from diversity. I find it compelling that the form is a combination of elements derived from the homelands of both enslavers and the enslaved. I find it reassuring that an art form of such joy and liveliness and hope would emanate from sorrow, hopelessness, and loss. It tells me that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit never fails. It never signals defeat. And our stories and songs remind us of that. The story of bluegrass music is a true story. But even in our fiction, we remind ourselves that we are made of light. Now, the holiday season is quickly approaching, lest any of us ever forget. It is quite apparent already at the Home Depot. And even the story of the Grinch who stole Christmas finishes with everything being taken from the Who's, and the way they respond to it is to gather in circle and sing. The story of Ebenezer Scrooge, who was reminded of his light. The story of Christ's birth. These are all tales about the triumph of human light emerging from the illusion of darkness. Is there something important about the future in the buried roots of that musical tree of bluegrass? Is there something being subtly programmed into us where we are reminded that we are all family? When we forget and fight, are we still being nudged to remember our one great collaboration? We reveal ourselves in the making of art. Our subconscious desires emerge, and the lessons we would share arise from them. Why is it that art has a way of bringing people together? Is it because that's what its truest intelligent design really is? Elvis was famous for singing black music. Yet he couldn't have been a bigger, whiter icon in the early days of rock and roll. Was that art form serving as a message in a bottle? Quietly, energetically propelling us toward levels of understanding among different peoples that perhaps only future generations will pick apart and appreciate. My faith tells me yes. My faith tells me that we are always seeking a reunion of our human family. Speaking of which, the minute my brothers and sisters and sister and I were no longer living under one roof, it gave us perspective. We missed each other immediately, much to our chagrin. We remembered that we loved each other. There was almost nothing to apologize for because all of it suddenly seemed so foolish so quickly. Because the roots were there, waiting for us to recognize them. There might have been hatchet marks in the trunks of the trees in our backyard and scars from the nail holes from long-abandoned tree forts, but the roots were still there, patiently biding their time for the moment we would one day draw nourishment from them again. I am closer than ever to my brother and sister today. We may temporarily forget our roots, but our roots never forget us. They are the foundation of our identity as human beings. They are time capsules of love and compassion. And may that harmony bring forth its truth forever. Please rise for our closing hymn, number 205, Amazing Grace.